Hi, I'm Bill Carmody, and I'm the Marketing Whisperer. All marketing must drive sales. If your marketing doesn't drive sales, then your marketing is not working and your business is likely to fail. It's all too common to separate out marketing from sales. I saw this when I was working at a very, very large advertising agency, and they used to refer to it as above the line and below the line, thinking that everything above the line is brand and advertising and amazing stuff that most people don't fully appreciate or understand. And everything below the line is that sort of sales driving activity that's like, ugh. And that whole idea of, above the line and below the line was a defined silo. If you can imagine, people were talking about this nonchalantly, like, yeah, it's above the line, below the line. And the whole point is there is no real line here. In a consumer's mind, everything drives the sale. The customer experience that happens after you've bought the product is often more important than the actual sale itself. So I'm going to tell you about the 10 things that every marketer needs to know about selling. Because if you understand these 10 things, you can make sure that all of your marketing does in fact drive sales, and you're going to be very much more successful than you already are. So let's start at the first one. Sales is the lifeblood of your business, okay? When you think about this, Keith Cunningham was the one who said it most brilliantly when he said there's only two reasons to ever spend $1 in your company. Number one is to get you a new customer, and number two is to retain a current customer. That's it. If you're not using your dollars to get new customers or retain your current customers, then you're wasting your cash. So all the more reason why marketing at the very beginning must be thinking in terms of sales and getting new customers. So that's the first thing I want you to remember, that sales are the lifeblood of your business. The second thing is, when you turn down a sale, you can actually get a customer for life. Now, this seems counterintuitive because I'm telling you that all marketing must sell. But at the same time, when somebody basically turns you down, and you actually start to build a new level of trust, because if I think that all you're trying to do is sell me and that's it, then we have no relationship. Let me give you an example. I took my car into a mechanic thinking that I had a busted alternator. Okay. When I came in, my battery wasn't charging, and I thought for sure I was going to have to spend a couple $100 replacing my alternator. And as I drove in, the mechanic popped open the hood while I was there and said, "Let me check something real quick." And he said, "Come around here. I want to show you something." And underneath the hood, he shows me that it's just my fan belt. My fan belt had come loose. It was actually slipping. And so the alternator wasn't doing its job because it wasn't able to charge the battery. And so rather than taking advantage of the fact that I already had a preconceived notion that I needed a new alternator, what he did instead was just replace the fan belt. And it was, I don't know, it was less than $50 for sure, with labor and everything. It was cheap relative to the hundreds of dollars I was expecting to spend on the alternator. He had turned down a sale and in fact got a customer for life. Because do you think I'm going to go to any other mechanic now that I know I have an honest mechanic? Someone who's going to tell me what I actually need, as opposed to just my back of my mind fearing that they're just charging me whatever they can get away with because they know that I'm not as astute about my vehicle as I should be, right? So number two, when you turn down a sale, you actually build a lifelong loyal customer. Number three, great salespeople don't actually sell. And this is also going to seem a little counterintuitive, but a great salesperson is actually a consultant looking to solve your problem. Now, let me be specific about that. When you think about going into a used car dealership, or even a car dealership in most cases, you're like, oh my God, I'm getting attacked, right? The very first thing is people come at you and you're like, I don't know, right? Instead, what you want is the consultative experience. Contrast going into a car dealership, or most car dealerships, I should say, with going into an Apple store. An Apple store, they know you're going to buy. They know it. You've come in there because you have a purpose. And if you're not there to fix a current device, you're likely here to buy another device. Is there any pressure? No. They're consulting with you. Let me keep it in the actual car analogy. Go to a Tesla dealership and see a dark contrast between most every other dealership you've been into and a Tesla dealership. Why? because they're talking to the things that you're most anxious about, right? Okay, if I buy this electric car and it only goes for 200 miles, what if I get stranded? What happens? How do I make sure if I want to go on a long car road trip, how can I actually get from, say, New York City to San Francisco, California? That's like 2,500 miles. If I want to take my Tesla cross country, can I even do it? That's the kind of consultative selling that really, really works. Because at the end of the day, the Tesla dealership knows they're going to be able to hook you for life if they can actually help you get invested in the actual product, and they treat you like a customer that they actually care about for life, as opposed to just trying to get you that quick hit, right? So number 3, great salespeople don't actually sell. Number 4, marketing plays a central role in cultivating sales. So I want you to think about sort of the really great marketing of the world. I mentioned in a few minutes ago about Apple in terms of their retail experience, but let's think about Apple as it comes to actually their first MP3 player, the iPod. Now, they were not first to market, right? There was tons of iPods out there. Sorry, there were tons of MP3 players out there prior to Apple coming into the marketplace. But what were they talking about? They were talking about bits and data. And they're saying, hey, our capacity is this many, at that time it was megabytes, now it's gigabytes, right? And they would obsess about how much actual storage space was on your MP3 player. But nobody cared. Who cares about how much storage? In fact, first of all, I don't even know what that means, right? How many songs will actually go in if I have a gigabyte worth of storage? How many songs can that hold? I have no idea. That's where the brilliance of marketing comes in, and where Apple did a phenomenal job. They didn't obsess about the bits. They didn't talk about the technology. They didn't fall in love with their product. What they did is they fell in love with their customer. And they said, you know what? What people want to know is how many songs can I put on an MP3 player? I know when I get a compact disc, at the time, that was what people used, I know that it would hold about 12 to 15. So if you can go out there and talk about the fact you can hold over 1,000 songs in your iPod, that's going to resonate with people. And that's exactly what happened, right? So number 4, marketing can play a central role in cultivating sales, because if you focus on the brand and the usefulness of what the product delivers for your customers, you will be successful. Number 5, I want to talk about B2B sales. They're about building relationships. So the thing about B2B sales specifically is your marketing is about cultivating that first connection. And what most B2B sales companies, where they struggle, is they try to basically create this funnel that just drops people down to basically close deals, right? And there's nothing wrong with the funnel. I understand why marketing is supposed to drive leads and cultivate those relationships. But ultimately, if you're trying to actually see a prospect as a person and they actually have a pain point, then you got to do everything you can to solve that pain. So the example I'll use here is one of our clients, or I should say prospects, had reached out because their previous agency had completely dropped the ball. They were expecting a proposal. They were expecting that they were going to have all these wonderful things for them. And instead they got nothing. The agency decided to take a pass and left them high and dry. So sort of a panic. I received a phone call saying, oh my God, I don't know. What can I do? And we have a tight deadline and I'm not sure we can get this done. Can you help me? Now, my simple answer is yes, of course I can. As a salesperson, I can get on the phone and just do a quick Skype call and basically say, hey, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it. And sometimes that's the practical answer. But instead, for this case, it was a big enough prospect for me. I got on an airplane. I flew another one of my teammates out as well. And we sat down and solved the prospect's pain right in front of them. And when I say solve the pain, we held back nothing. What we did was we actually went through point by point. Here are all the things you're telling me you're struggling with. Here's how we would solve them. And we didn't charge them a consultancy fee. We just went through and showed them exactly what we would do step by step. And at the end, they're like, oh my God, you're right. That's all I need to do. Why did we do this? Because the next question is, can you do it for me? You see, the thing is, when people are actually in pain and you show them how to solve the problem, you give them the option that if you want to go do this yourself, great. I've just added tremendous value to you. You know the next time you're in pain, you're going to call me again. B2B selling is not about closing the deal. It's about building relationships, right? So that's number 5. I need you to understand that, because if you're building those relationships, you're caring more about your customer's pain point than about how do you close the next deal. And that's true marketing, isn't it? That basically you're a trusted brand, that when people call you, they know that something's going to get solved, right? So that's number 5. So now we're going to move on to number 6. Number 6 is B2C sales are about delivering happiness. Okay, whatever product company you think you're in, you really should be focusing on your customers, not your products and services. For maximizing B2C sales, what you want to think about is how are you delivering happiness? And I don't mean always through your product. The perfect example here is Zappos, right? They have some of the best customer service on the planet. I would argue the best. I don't know anyone else that's got better. And all they're focused on is when you call Zappos, did you leave the call happier than when you called them? That's it. That's the only metric they care about. Because if they've solved your pain point, then they know you're going to buy from them. So B2C sales are about delivering happiness. It really is. And it's not just for shoes, right? Zappos sells shoes. People call in, and if they have a shoe problem, obviously they can solve that. But sometimes they'll call in for other things. And Zappos does its best to solve the problem no matter what and go above and beyond to try to help actually solve the happiness problem, right? When you're calling in, typically you're frustrated. If they can turn that around and you're no longer angry or upset, and now you're happy and fulfilled, oh my God, that's the best possible way to get customers. And the fact is, they don't have people calling in every single day. So the good, beautiful thing is that for those few people who've spent the time on the phone with a Zappos representative, they tell everybody. They tell everybody what they just experienced. So number 6, B2C sales are about delivering happiness. Number 7, B2E sales are about delivering culture, vision, and leadership. B2E, what is that? That's business to employee. You see, marketing isn't just about selling to the outside. You're selling on the inside. You got to sell your team on your vision. You got to sell your team on your why, right? If you haven't watched the TED Talk, Simon Sinek, Start With Why, start there. Because people buy why you do what you do, right? People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's the Simon Sinek quote, right? People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So does your team understand your why? Do they know why you went into business? Do they understand your passion? Do they understand what it all is about for you? Because if they don't, then you're not having a shared culture. You have your own vision of what you want to do, and you're probably struggling because your team's not bought in. See, if your team loves the vision and the mission, if they understand what they're setting out to do, they're going to go move mountains for you, right? But if they think it's just another job, whatever, 9 to 5, if people are coming in late and they're leaving early, you've not created an environment for them which they're thriving. People who are thriving do not basically feel like it's work. They feel like things are awesome because they're doing something that's relevant and meaningful. When you're doing something relevant and meaningful, you are inspired by it. So, number 7, B2E sales are about building culture, vision, and leadership. Number 8, repeat sales are highly dependent on the entire experience. Look, as a marketer, if you're thinking that your whole job is to basically get people to transact with you, you're wrong. You're just flat out wrong. And the reason why I'm saying this is because that transaction is the thing that got people to take the step to then trust you enough to buy something from you. But the entire experience is what happens after that step, right? When I open up the box, again, Apple's easy to use, but because they're so brilliant about this, let's use them as the example. That sort of way the package fits together, that feeling of, that happens when you open that product. That's the awesomeness that is Apple, right? Are their products dramatically better than their competitors? No, they're not. Poor Samsung Galaxy 7s, with all the battery issues and problems. I'm really, really sorry about all that. But the truth of the matter is the experience of opening the product from an Apple is one of the reasons it makes Apple such a great company. What else makes it great? Because that sort of experience when they actually start playing with the product, it feels like, oh, this is pretty intuitive. I kind of understand what I'm supposed to do here. That's great, right? their service care, being able to go to a genius bar, right? Walking in and talking to someone smart who actually solves your problem. Contrast that to getting on a phone call with someone in Dell who reroutes your call to India, and you have someone who has basically a decent command of the English language, but sometimes it's hard to understand with the accents. But most importantly, they typically can't solve your problem on the first call. They're bouncing you around, you're on hold, you're moving things around. I want to set an appointment. I want to show up at my designated time. I want to talk to a genius who's going to fix my problem, and it's never going to be a problem for me again, because not only do they fix it for me, they showed me how they fixed it and how I never have to have that problem again. That's part of the experience. And that's why repeat sales, number 8, repeat sales are highly dependent on the entire experience. Number 9, maximize sales growth is highly dependent on key messaging, positioning, and value. This is your bread and butter, marketers, right? That maximum sales growth, let me repeat it again, is highly dependent on key messaging, positioning, and value. So why does somebody buy anything? See, if two products are at parity, the better marketing is the thing that actually drives the sales. In fact, sometimes an inferior product wins because of better marketing. Think about Windows versus Macs, in terms of the back in the late 90s, right? At the end of the day, Mac had a superior product by everybody's definition. It was faster, it was easier to use, it was just more intuitive. Everybody who used a Macintosh loved the experience. But Windows kicked their ass. How is that possible? Because they had great marketing that got people excited about using Windows. And that's just it. Even though Apple had the superior product, at the end of the day, what was done with Windows was basically coming back with better positioning and sort of showing you that, hey, we can basically make your computer easier to use. It's what you're comfortable with. Let's show you how we get that done. And you can go into any industry and find this, right? The whole idea around Zappos we talked about earlier, right? When you call, you're leaving the call happier than when you actually did, before you called in. That's your key messaging. That's your value. That's your proposition. Anyone can buy shoes from anywhere online. It's probably cheaper to buy them in other places than on Zappos, right? I can buy shoes from Walmart.com, and I'm sure I get a better deal from a cost perspective. But I am so fiercely loyal to Zappos because of the experience that I have, right? Every industry, you can look at who are the leaders, and then what's the experience? How are they positioning themselves? Cars today are identical. Come on, think about it. With the exception of Tesla, put that one aside for a second. Every car has the same features and benefits. You can buy any size. You can buy leather seats. You can buy a 4-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder. It doesn't matter, right? So it comes down to the positioning. How does the car make you feel? Do you feel smart because you bought a Hyundai and you're saving less money? Do you feel safe because you're actually in a Volvo and you know that you're going to be protected in a car crash? Do you feel luxurious because you bought a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz and allowing yourself to feel and tell your neighbors that you've arrived early, right? That's where maximum sales growth is highly dependent on key messaging, positioning, and value. And that's number 9. And last but not least, number 10, for maximum partnership and understanding, join your sales team. Let me say that again. Number 10, for maximum partnership and understanding, join your sales team. Listen, if you're a marketer and you really, really want to understand the pain that goes through the sales team, join them. Get on the phone calls with them if they're doing outbound calling. Look at the reports they're seeing if they're doing inbound, whether it's Marketo or HubSpot, Eloqua. Understand what it is that they're looking at and how they're processing the leads you're giving to them. So in every business, if you want to better understand the challenges with your sales teams, go with them on a day-to-day basis. Meaning, I've gone out on in vans going to retailers just to understand what salespeople have to do when they're out in the field trying to sell their product into a retailer. Right? When you've actually experienced that process yourself, you now have a better appreciation for their needs when they're going out there and getting that done. All right? So those are the 10 things that every marketer needs to know about sales, right? And I want you to think about why marketing is so important to driving sales. In the next episode, what we're going to talk about are the 10 things that every salesperson needs to know about marketing. We're going to flip it around. Now, that's because we want to break down these silos. At the end of the day, I don't want marketers and salespeople to be on opposite teams, because they should be playing their strongest position for the company in both areas where they live best. But a great marketer understands selling, and a great salesperson understands marketing. So let's use these 10 steps and these 10 insights to help marketers become better salespeople. And let's use the next episode to help salespeople become better marketers. Thank you so much. My name is Bill Carmody, and I'm the Marketing Whisperer.